Ms. Jenkins, what are the best practices for small firms in this competitive area?
So I'll say the best practices is certainly building a relationship, really reading the strategic plan, studying the agency inside and out, doing your market research. And by market research, I mean when you go on FBO and you see a list of interested vendors, understand who your competition is. Go on their websites and see how their deck stacks. Look a little bit on, read up on the incumbent. Find out how they were able to get a piece of the pie and find out what their best practices were. Also attend our vendor outreach sessions, our industry days, and sessions such as these, and follow up. Because what happens is oftentimes I come out to engagements such as these, I collect business cards, we respond, we send emails, all agencies do, and then we don't hear from you guys. It's crickets. And you say that you're going to respond to an RFI and a source of sort notice, and guess what? Nothing happens. Nothing happens. And when we give you best tools of practice to ramp up your capability statement, take that keen advice. Include the primary NAICS codes on your business cards. So we know who you are. We know what your capacities, where your capacities reside. Ensure that that information is updated in your SAM record, in the Small Business Dynamic Search. And keep your hands on the prize, meaning that building relationships is like a courtship, it's like a marriage. If you say you're going to email me and call me, do just that. Don't just be missing in action. So I'm hoping to hear more from you guys. I'm hoping that I see your faces at our vendor outreach session on May 8th. I'm hoping that when I get back to the office, I have at least 100 and better emails where you're inboxing me saying, I want a piece of the pie. I want to be relevant. And the only way you can stay relevant is if you continue building these relationships and not just doing a capability blast, really understanding the requirements that we have at Treasury.
Lisa's correct with relationships, but I don't want to see all y'all all the time. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Because I don't have any requirements for you. I'm trying to point you in the right direction, which means our small business specialists throughout DHS. Similar to the way the centers are with NASA, we have components, and we have small business specialists at each component, okay? But what I said earlier is key. You have to know how we buy this stuff. I mean, we can have a relationship all day. I like you, you're a nice person, nice. But if you don't know that the way we buy IT now, or the way we buy program management, or the way that we buy, body armor, you got to do your homework about that. So, just calling me or him, Charles or Lisa, that's one thing. She likes a lot of interaction. I'm reading acquisition plans. I can't do all that, so I, disseminate it to people that work for me or et cetera. But you all have to know in this climate how you have to deal with us, especially DHS. I'm not sure how, and NASA, they're down the category management road too. Well, NASA Soup, I mean, they're one of the, there's the best in class contracts. So know that, and it's key. I can't stress that more and more when I go to these events, is I want you all to know what to do next, how to deal in this environment that we're now in. It's part of the president's management agenda. It came from the other previous administration. It's not just the current administration. And our job here is to ensure that we represent the president's agenda. And so that's what we do. And we want to make sure that you all know how to do that. Okay, I just wanted to add that.
Sure.
Okay.
Small business specialists, they're not doorkeepers. I mean, you can go to any agency. I do IT. I like to talk to someone in IT. I can let you wander around 5-acre campus for months. Or you can go and talk to the small business specialist. Yeah, they're going to ask you questions about your capabilities and different things, but they're the ones that can tell you right now, we just awarded that contract. Right now, that contract is going to be included under something else. The person that we need to talk to, that's why they're there. And so, again, feeling, and I hear this a lot. I used to hear that, Johnson, oh, you guys are just gatekeepers. You don't get us to the people who, I can tell you, and I've been on the other side, so I have an engineering degree. I was an engineer on the other side, and I would not talk to a small business at all. I would tell them your job is to go to procurement, not to talk to me. So a lot of the engineers don't want to talk to you. What they want to know, they're going to send their requirement to procurement. We work with procurement extremely close. So again, using a small business specialist, that's the relationship you definitely want to forge, is that kind of a relationship with those small business specialists. But again, headquarters, a lot of large agencies, we don't buy things. It's going to be at our centers and at our field offices.
Okay, great. So my next question is a question I get on a daily basis as a PTAC counselor. I'm going to start with Ms. Jenkins. So I'm the contractor, and I can do it cheaper, so why won't the government buy from me? I'm the contractor.
Right. And you can do, but did you really understand the requirement? Did your response articulate your past performance in the right way? And do you have relevant past performance for the requirement?
No.
If you don't,
none of those.
Okay, womp, womp, womp. So you want to make sure that you respond and you articulate and align your past performance where it resonates to the requirement. Because if it's not relevant to the requirement, it's no different than a resume. If you can't speak to the technical quals, you want to...
No, you can go, Ms. Bullock.
Sorry.
When I come to these
I
things,
had
I
to
have to
stop.
tell y'all the truth, nitty gritty. Oh, not that Lisa wasn't, but what I'm saying it from a contracting officer standpoint. I was a contracting officer for a long time. If anybody knows PAX 2, that was me. So large acquisitions, small, everything. Nothing. Oh, did it cut off? No. Just because you're cheaper doesn't mean it diddly squat. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For DHS, Treasury 2, particularly for NASA 2, mission is first. So what we do is try to accomplish the mission. And if the mission is, and the way it's evaluated, remember, there's an evaluation criteria, and you have to respond to that. If it's evaluated and determining how they're awarding it, what method, lowest price, technical, I'm not getting into that, but that's a whole nother ballgame. But what I mean is that cheaper is not always better. Cheaper does not always support the mission. And as a contracting officer, as a career contracting officer, a company, regardless large or small, has to be able to respond to the requirement in the way that the solicitation requested it and ensure that's evaluated. And how it's evaluated. So I won't go deeper into it, but
Thank you very much.
I would just add one thing from a NASA perspective, and that is every large contract that we do, one of the first things that the source selection official asks is this the best value for the government? Best value does not mean lowest cost. Because I will tell you, sometimes we do a price technical trade-off. I'd rather pay more money and get that technology than to pay a cheaper cost and not get it. So again, and for those that don't understand contracting, you really need to, because these are things sometimes, and we get questions, why I was the lowest cost. First of all, how did you know that? Because we don't tell people until afterwards. But anyway, I was lowest cost. That's fine, but were you best value? And every contract is different. So understanding those terms and conditions. One of the things I used to tell small businesses all the time, which I still don't see a lot of, if you compete on a procurement, get a debrief. Why didn't you win? What was different in your proposal? That will help you understand, especially if they're doing best value, why you were not best value.
even if you win.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you win, you still want to do that. But keep in mind, the government has long moved away from we're buying the cheapest thing out there. We're now buying the best value for the federal government.
Very good. Archie?
I just wanted to add to what the gentleman from Nassau said about best value. When you look at a solicitation that is best value, there are evaluation criteria in Section L, Section M. Those evaluation criteria tell you how the government is going to evaluate your proposal. So you cannot write a proposal unless you know how the government is going to evaluate it. So you have got to go to section, first of all, can you do the job? Then go to section L, section M, and see how is the government going to evaluate, excuse me, your proposal. As the gentleman alluded to, management, technical, price. Whatever order that the contracting officer puts those three things, those three factors, as they call them, that's how you write your proposal. If management is first, then you write your proposal accentuating your management capabilities. If it's technical, then that's how you write your proposal. It's got to be written from a technical perspective. Given management, given technical, two companies have the same, they're graded out the same, then price would be the determining factor.
Thank you, Archie. And I know everybody's ready to eat, but this is really a burning question. My business is struggling, and we need a government contract fast to stay in business. How long does it take to get a government contract? Lisa?
I'm glad you gave that to her.
Oh, you can.
Oh, you want to answer, Mr. Williams?
You want to answer?
No, I want to
You
just hear
answer.
one sentence from each one of you. One sentence, Lisa. How can I get a government contract fast?
You
Lisa.
can't. You cannot.
Oh, you cannot.
No, I'm not even gonna sit and.
But I'm really
play that.
struggling. I'm trying to pay my
Well,
mortgage.
you know what? Well, I am too. Well, I gotta wait on the check every 2 weeks. Are we good?
Just want to interrupt 1 second. We did a survey of over 3,500 businesses when I was advisor in government contracting for American Express. And the timeline was surprising. The timeline is actually 18 months from the point of when you first enter government contracting arena to the point that you win that first government contract. However, if you're 8A certified and you're experienced and did business with the federal government beforehand as a subcontractor, it kind of cut that time in half. So I just wanted to share those stats with you.
One of the things I'll say, and I'm like Darlene, I'm just going to tell you straight, no chaser. So
No
if you don't
chaser.
like it, I'm sorry. But keep in mind, we start our process 18 months before that contract is supposed to be awarded. If something happens during that 18 months where we have to extend it, we could be going 2 years, 2.5 years. Not only that, in a perfect scenario, we started, you competed, you won. You are not getting a check on the first day that you sign that contract. So if you're struggling like that, you're still going to have some type of way to make payroll, probably for a month, 2, sometimes 3 months, before you can actually submit an invoice to the government that will pay. My experience has been that first invoice that comes in is not correct. And so it goes back to you, which in turn may add another month on. So if that scenario is where you are, I would recommend that you look at becoming a subcontractor, because a lot of them, they may have a $25,000, a $50,000, a $100,000 requirement that they need someone to do for a month, 2 months, 3 months. I don't have that at NASA. I don't have any small things like that at NASA. And so again, when you're dealing with the federal government, and this is one of the things I think industry doesn't understand, we don't do it because I just don't want to deal with y'all for 2 years. We do it because federal regulations require that this is the process we have to go through. So it's not our choice. This is what we have to go through. Even doing a sole source. I have a lot of people, well, you can sole source it. Yep, we sure can. But if I find other companies out there that have a capability, I'm required to compete it. It doesn't make a difference that you came to see me first. Does not make a difference that you're in Maryland, you're in DC. I'm required to compete it. So understand, when the federal government does something, 99% of the time, we are following the federal requirements that we have to follow in order to do things. And again, as mentioned before, now we're being pushed to category management. We're being pushed to these other type contracts. So if you don't understand that process and how to become a contractor on that and all of those things, I can tell you you're going to be looking uphill because that's the way they're pushing the federal government now.